Hello everyone, Ember Power here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be taking a look at a bunch of new card reveals for the set Raging Surf. So yeah, might as well just get straight into it. So there was a couple of art rare reveals. These were for some cards that have already been revealed in English. So for example, the Mantike and the Yveltal, for example. I really do like these artworks, but the cards are kind of super underwhelming, so not really worth talking about, but we do have a new Plusle and Minim. This Garchomp, of course, was revealed previously, so it's nice to see that it's getting an art rare, I guess, even though this one, in all honesty, looks more like full art than anything else, but yeah, just my personal taste, but hey. First of all, though, we've got Lapras, which sadly is kind of complete bulk, but we do have an Octillery there, which does have the ability Suction Draw. It says once you return, when you evolve it from Remoraid, you may draw 3 cards, which seems kind of underwhelming. And maybe there is a format where this is good. But why I'm kind of bringing it up is maybe we ever get to the point where Super Squibnet or something, like they reprint that card and we lose Bibarel, maybe Curlier goes down in play. Maybe this Octillery could be good at some point. If we get an Octillery EX that's really good, I doubt that, but just something worth bearing in mind. These kind of abilities aren't usually that good, but I just think it's something worth bearing in mind. But yeah, we've got Plusle and Minim over here. Plusle's kind of cool, 10 damage and then 10 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active. We've seen these kind of attacks before. They don't usually do that much. To be honest, these kind of like big finishing moves. But to be honest, if you are playing like a single prize box that uses double colorless energy, I guess, and you do need to hit some sort of lightning weakness, then maybe this card could be pretty decent. It's also pretty good when paired up with Minim, because Minim has the ability Buddy Puzzle, or Buddy Pulse, I should say. If you have Plus in play, whenever your opponent attaches an energy, so it doesn't just mean basic, it does mean special, which is pretty cool. From their hand to one of their Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon, but you can't apply more than one of these abilities at a time, so you couldn't put like 4 of each of these in play, and then whenever they attach energy, they would take like 100 damage, which would be very funny. But still 2 damage counters could be useful in certain situations, but at the same time, this is 2 Pokemon that are going to occupy your bench, basically. You don't want to be attacking with Plusle most of the time, so yeah, it's a bit of a weird combo. Might be fun to try out at some point, but nothing too crazy there. We also see our first ever Gimme Ghoul cards. Nice that we have a Call for Family one, actually. The 70 HP one's probably better, but still, Call for Family is always nice to have. Then we see Hoopa EX, because these cards are never revealed in order for some reason. Hoopa EX, so it's a basic fighting type 220 HP terrestrial Pokemon that uses Dark Energy. So this Hoopa is kind of interesting. It's not like super great in all honesty, but I do like the idea of maybe like you have a Darkrai deck, you run like 3 or 4 copies of Raihan or something, and then your opponent knocks out a Darkrai at some point in the game, or maybe even a Galarian Moltres. Then you Raihan to Hoopa, and then surprise Energy Crush out of nowhere, which is just a really good option to have against stuff like Arceus that wants to stack a load of energy on the board anyways, or even Charizard, Gardevoir, those sorts of decks. But in all honesty, this attack is super easy to play around, and then the second attack only does 200 damage, which isn't super great these days. So, in all honesty, I don't think this card is super great, but it could pop up as a nice tech card somewhere down the line in some kind of dark box deck. So, cool card to keep in mind, but again, I don't think this card is anything too crazy. Next up is we have a Thievul that's kind of like a reprint of Team Skull Grunt, I believe, from Sun and Moon, but that was a supporter. This is an ability on a stage 1. So when you evolve it, you can choose 2 energy cards from your opponent's hand and have them shuffle them in. Super disruptive and annoying in certain matchups, but of course, the opponent will likely have ways of tracking down those energy cards again pretty easily, so I don't think this ability is that strong in all honesty. It's cool to have, and again, if we ever get like a Thievul EX, or I think there's a good Nickit and Expanded that's really annoying, so maybe this could see niche play, but honestly, I don't think this card is super great. Then we get to Gholdengo EX, which is a 260 HP metal type, and I think it's relevant to mention HP here because 260 is a lot less than 280. 280 just means that you can survive a couple more hits. 260 just means that more things can KO you and reach you easier, so I definitely don't like having 260 HP on a Pokemon, but still, it's not the worst we've ever seen. It does have the ability bonus coins. It says once in your turn you may draw a card. If Gholdengo is in the active spot, draw 2 instead, which is just really nice because this is a kind of deck that would want to have 3 or 4 Gholdengo in play at any time, really. So you can hopefully just play a bunch of switches, draw a bunch more cards, So you should be able to draw 2, if not 4 cards per turn in the Gholdengo deck, just for having this ability, which is really nice. So maybe, you just play a switch, then another switch, or an escape rope or something. You obviously won't be able to do that multiple times a turn every single game, but just being able to do it several times could definitely give you the edge, even though I'd probably be pairing this with B-Barrel anyway or Curlia, so still a really strong ability to have, and it definitely complements the attack really nicely, which is Make It Rain for single metal energy, so very easy to power up. Discard any number of basic energy, so it doesn't specify metal, which is interesting, so you could use any type of energy if you really wanted to, but you'll probably be using metal because, let's face it, it costs metal to use it. Discard any number of basic energy from your hand, 50 damage for each card discarded in this way. So a super cool attack to have. I don't think we've ever really seen a Pokemon with this kind of attack do well in recent memory, I should say. But in all honesty, this could break the curse maybe. The ability is pretty strong and the attack could get quite high in terms of damage. Like, you do have to discard 5 energy to KO stuff like Roaring Moon and Iron Valiant. And then it's like 6 energy for V stars, and then 7 energy, I believe, for like stage 2 EX. So that is kind of a pain in all honesty. You do need a lot of things for this to go well. You have to draw into energies, then maybe discard them with Ultra Balls, get them back with Superior Energy Retrieval. So it will be a very fun deck to play, I really don't doubt that. So 10 out of 10 design-wise on that front. How competitive will this be? I'm not sold on this, in all honesty. Maybe I could be very wrong about this, but as of right now, I'm not 100% sold. I think the ability is very strong. I think the attack could be pretty strong, but you do need to draw pretty well in order to get those 1-hit KOs. But yeah, could be wrong on that. Then we see 2 supporters, which are honestly pretty underwhelming. We have Chantal and Parasol Lady. Chantal says flip a coin. If heads, it's basically boss's orders, but if it's tails, it's a switch. So you don't get to choose, it's just a coin flip. Now, there will be certain decks that have like a pivot or something, like maybe a Cleffa, like a baby Pokemon, you can just easily pivot into, so the switch effect doesn't matter. But then at that point, you're basically just playing a Pokemon catcher, and there's not like many reasons why you would want to play an item, but that's effectively a supporter. And of course, like, why you're not just playing more copies of Boss's Orders. If like special conditions were really big in the game, which I don't think they ever will be, at least not for a while now, then this kind of effect could be pretty good because it's like a pseudo Boss's Orders slash just a nice way of getting out of Polaris and stuff. But then even then, there's stuff like Full Heal, there's Escape Rope, a Switch, yeah. Chantal, really one of the worst supporters I've seen in a while, actually, even if it is a Gust effect. So, yeah, nothing too crazy there. But then Parasol Lady says, shove your hand to your deck and draw 4, which is very mediocre. But if you go second and it's your first turn, draw until you have 8 instead. So it's a shuffle draw 8 if you went second, which is pretty cool, because it does mean we can use stuff like Luminion to find this card. So that in itself is pretty decent and worth bearing in mind, but in all honesty, I don't think this card will see too much play. Maybe if you're playing like 1 or 2 Luminions and Pokegears even, then maybe Parasol Lady is worth it, but in all honesty, I don't think the card is super great. We do have a bunch of other reveals to look forward to, like there was this Roaring Moon and Iron Valiant box revealed, and even though you can't make out the full one for the Futuristic, it was correctly predicted that we are getting these capsules. So if I just zoom in any further, hopefully this doesn't turn out blurry on the video, by the way. But basically, this tool card says this ancient Pokemon this card is attached to gets plus 60 HP and recovers from all special conditions and can't be affected by any special conditions. So super busted tool card. And of course, it's paired up with, in this box, Roaring Moon and Brute Bonnet, which are like the main kind of ancient Pokemon. And if we go to Roaring Moon, this card already has 230 HP, so you're effectively giving this thing 290, which is absolutely wild. It also means that Frenzy Gouging, which knocks anything out but does 200 to itself, is obviously a bit less of a grievance. Now we're a lot tankier. It also just means if you want to focus on Calamity Storm most games, because 220 is still pretty decent for 3 energy, then of course, having 290 HP just naturally makes you very tanky. Kind of ignoring special conditions is whatever, I guess. I think Brute Bonnet might have some synergy there. Yeah, so Brute Bonnet actually has the ability Toxic Powder that says if it has a booster energy equipped, then you may leave both active Pokemon poisoned. But of course, if you have booster energy on your Bonnet, as well as your active Roaring Moon, then you won't poison your own Roaring Moon, which is something worth bearing in mind and could be quite important in some games. So I really do like that idea. You could also get like Hisuian Sneezer involved and stuff, so that's pretty cool. And of course, you'd be giving Brute Bonnet 180 HP anyway if it has that tool card attached to it. So very, very strong tool card. And of course, we haven't seen all of the ancient Pokemon. Like I think there's several more to come out. So very, very strong tool card. Unfortunately, the futuristic one was on the right hand side, and we don't get the full image. But it looks like something to do with retreat cost and then something to do with attack damage. Now, if we go down to the comment section, there was actually some theories on what this would do. So, like someone said, the future Pokemon this card's attached to something retreat cost, and then tags it uses summing to opponent's active Pokemon. So, if this is interacting with both retreat cost and attack damage, that seems kind of broken in a way, but we'll have to wait and see. Because Iron Valiant does have an ability that would kind of rely on you playing a lot of switch outs. So maybe they kind of want to build a deck where you have a bunch of these futuristic capsules attached to your Iron Valiants and you can switch around and do more damage. And sounds crazy, to be honest. I mean, the first tour card, the one for Ancients rather, this Ancient Booster Capsule, that seems really strong, just plus 60 HP is naturally just great. But then if the other one is, increasing not only attack damage, but also retreat cost, decreasing retreat cost, I should say, then, that just sounds equally broken. So, yeah, we'll have to wait until we get the full card reveals for these. I'm surprised they didn't just reveal them when the box was revealed, but sadly, we'll have to wait and see. But we do have some other reveals to look at here. There was a bunch of other stuff. I believe this is from the starter decks, Skeledirge and Mewtwo. But we do have confirmation that Mewtwo will be in Paradox Rift anyway, so it's not too much of like a stretch to say that these cards will be in Paradox Rift. If not, they will be delayed to the set after. So should see these cards at some point. Nothing too crazy. Some very nice artwork on the Executor line. Executor itself could be okay in GLC just because it does high damage, but aside from that, nothing crazy. Then we see a new Xatu line, which has 100 HP, which is pretty important to bear in mind because it means we won't be able to level ball for it. But it does have the ability Akashic Sense, which says once in your turn, you may attach a basic Psychic Energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. If you do, draw 2 cards. We've been here before. This is kind of like a nerfed version of Shadow Rider VMAX, I guess. But it is a single prizer, stage 1, which is a huge difference to, a 3 prizer. So a very strong ability. Of course, you're like Sableye food, I guess, because 100 HP. But still a very, very strong ability. I think this will be good at some point in the game. There's obviously synergy with stuff like Mewtwo, like the Terra Mewtwo EX, Mewtwo V-Star even, potentially, though that's a bit bad. Lunar Rocks even, I know some people are going to be a bit sick of Psychic types. I too wish they would branch out and support Fighting types and Metal types a bit more. But hey, it's a cool single prizer. I can't really complain. It's obviously going to be amazing in GLC as well. So, yeah, pretty cool as that too. As for the Pokemon, I think it's just mostly kind of just bulkish stuff, really. Deoxys, GLC card, Heat Rotom, GLC card. There is actually a new Volcanion, which has the exact same attack, I think, as the Volcanion from, I think it's XY Steam Siege, which brings back memories, honestly. But Dual Turbo does 20 damage, and you get to choose 2 bench Pokemon, attach a basic Fire Energy from Disco Pile to each of them. So, like, maybe there's synergy here with, like, Magma Basin and stuff like the Skeledirge EX that discards an energy to do 60 more damage. Could be cool here, in all honesty, but it does seem a bit slow in this day and age to try and use this attack. But, yeah, I think this could be cool. It's nothing too crazy, of course, but something to bear in mind if we ever get any, like, really strong Fire-type attackers. Then the last thing to look at today was this Gengar line for Raging Surf as well. Unfortunately, despite being Gengar, this one isn't super great. Ghastly's cool, Haunter's cool, I guess. And this Gengar does have some nice artwork, even though it kind of looks like it's been slapped onto the background. But it has the ability Night Gate that says once your turn, you may switch your active with one of your benched, which is quite nice. Just means you can freely bounce between Pokemon. I think Decidueye EX actually have the same ability as well, but just work for Decidueye. This is just any Pokemon, which is nice. And it also has the attack Nightmare for 1 Dark and a Cause, it's 100 damage, and your opponent's active is now asleep. So, a pretty cool card. The ability is super versatile, could definitely get you out of tanky situations in a pinch. Do bear in mind, though, that we are getting a Stage 2 tool card in 151 that says the Stage 2 has free retreat. So you could have like this Infinite Pivot or something. If you're just playing a Stage 2 deck, you probably don't need the Gengar at that point, but just something to worth bearing in mind. And of course, if we ever get a Gengar EX, it feels inevitable. then this ability could be good to have. But yeah, it's been our power. Let me know what you think down below. And yeah, thank you for watching.